The following is a segment from Session 6 of the Honestly Better Mental Fitness Show. If you would like a list of all of the segments and full sessions, please visit honestlybetterfitness.com/list. That's honestlybetterfitness.com/list.
Welcome to L&H Industrial's Honestly Better Mental Fitness. I'm Mike Lomber. I'm the president of L&H Industrial, standing in the middle of a breezeway in the shop in Tempe, Arizona, to get an idea of what we do behind us here. I found mental fitness a few years ago, and it changed my life. It's changed my family's life. And now we'll bring it to all of L&H Industrial and recording it to put it out for us to hearing. Thank you for joining.
Okay, here's our first 4 tips. Tip number 1, stop doing what you don't want. I think another way to talk about this or another phrase that might stick in your mind as well, would be never do something that you would resent. And that is really tricky and difficult, and it might laugh and never do something you don't want, and everybody's here at work, right? maybe you wake up and you love to go to work, or maybe you wake up this morning, and if you're like some of us, I'm sure there's some of us that way, you're like, I don't want to go to work today, right? I'm doing that. And I think it's taking a moment to confront that. Like, do you truly not want to? And if you don't want to, then why are you doing this thing? And if it's because you feel like you have to, that's where I would stop and challenge this. I don't have to. Like, is this truly what is not doing this thing truly what I want to do? Maybe I don't really feel in the moment like doing this, but I value my reputation as a team player. I value my team and the people that I'm with, and I don't want to leave them behind. Or I value my customers or my clients or my word and my person, my own self and my own reputation, to do this thing that I don't want to do because I said I would do it. And to take a moment to confront that of, is it true that you don't want to do it? Or are you genuinely making this choice in it? And really, this is about owning 100% of your actions 100% of the time. Don't want to do it, don't do it. Oh, you like being there for other people, you like doing those things, you like maybe if it's even you like getting paid and getting, being able to provide food for your family, right? Then this is a choice that you're making. Only you can choose what you want for your life. And I think it's really honoring that we have absolute freedom how to live our lives. And I think sometimes when we choose not to do this, or when we choose to do it, but then kind of resent it, be frustrated about it, it builds in us. Maybe it's a favor that somebody asked that you didn't really want to do it, but out of obligation, you're like, okay, fine, I'll help you do the thing or whatever it is. But then you're secretly holding some resentment in there, or there's strings attached. All right, I'll do the thing, but then you're going to have to pay me back later or do this thing for me later. But we don't speak that. We just make this assumption. And then this resentment starts to build. We feel the company owes me, or this other person owes me, but there are all these like unspoken contracts that nothing was agreed to. And I would say, have the courage to say no, or do it freely, knowing it's 100% in your choice and it's a gift that you are giving, or an action that you are choosing to take because you are choosing to take it. I think the giving let's just say service, it's I don't know, maybe your kids want to do something with you and you're tired at night and you don't want to really do it, but you're like, or your spouse or your partner or something like that. You're, okay, fine, we'll do it. But then you're resenting it. And to me, it's like making a meal, but putting poison in it, right? I'm doing the thing, but I'm going to hold it against you. Or maybe it's myself. I'm going to do this thing because I'm afraid of the consequences, but then I'm going to resent myself for being weak and not being able to say no. Or I'm going to resent myself or the world or the company or whatever it is that we choose to place this blame on, as who is responsible for our actions. And I think that's kind of what's at the heart of this, is who is responsible for our actions. And resentment is saying that somebody else is responsible. I'll do it, but it's your fault. I do it, but you owe me. I'll do it, but it's really, I'm only doing it because I have to. And I would say, stop for a minute. Don't do that. If that is the cost of doing it, I would say, don't do it. And that is where never do something you don't want. And I might also phrase it, never do something that you would resent. And I would say, check in with your body. Like, listen to your body. Like, your body knows. Are you doing something? You're like, ugh, there's this thing in your stomach when you're doing it. Or are you doing it and be like, yeah, it's not really the thing that I would love to do right now, but it's the thing that I am choosing to do because I want to do this. And so listen into your body, and like, I would almost say, like, settle the waters before you do it. Mike gave us a great example in this, like the head, heart, gut thing. Like, that is part of the checking in with that, right? This is, can I do it with full 100% conviction, compassion, confidence? Can I settle the waters before I do it? And if I can't, then I would say, don't.
Yeah, if you're checking in with my head, heart, gut got me a long ways there, and giving myself permission not to do things that that I truly didn't want to do, right? That I was doing, like you said, I was doing it for somebody else. And once I check in with my head, heart, and gut, I know if they line up, then sure, I'm 100% in. And if they don't, then I gotta, like you said, stop and think about it and make sure you're doing it because you choose to do it, not for some other thing.
Right.
Powerful. Giving yourself permission to do that. That was my main thing. Once I realized that I was not giving myself permission to, make my own choices and have my own time. I had all these other obligations I was trying to fit in, and that was big for me.
Right. I think we can, we can feel like a prisoner in our own life. Like, we're not control, we're along the ride, everybody else. If everybody else would just stop doing this, then I could have, and it's reversing that and realizing I'm the only one that has absolute control and freedom in my life.
Yeah. And responsibility, right? With great freedom comes great responsibility.
Right. Absolutely.
You have to choose, right?
Right. I think a great way to sum it up is take ownership of your life, whereas there is no one else who can live it for you. Embrace the power within to shape your destiny, accept responsibility for your actions, and let go of blame. In this realization lies the freedom to create the life you truly desire. Okay, here's number one. Number two, change your body and change your state. When we look at the things that we do that we don't like so much, or we maybe wish that we didn't, it's oftentimes to shift ourselves out of a state that we are feeling stuck in. And in talking about making changes in our level of mental fitness, there's a few different ways. There's the top down, I think we've talked about this before, or the bottom up. And it's basically change my thinking, and then when I change my thinking, I change my actions. Or there's the other way around, change my actions, and as my actions change, my thinking changes as well. And they're both true. They're both powerful ways to move. And so when we're in a state of mind that we find ourselves in that we don't want to be, I would say change your body to change your state of mind. And I'm going to give you a few different examples of how to do that. I would say alcohol is definitely one of these that I've heard in some of the conversations, or most of the little habits that we have that we would maybe say they're not the best habit, but it's what I have, right? It's coming home from work and I can't shut off my brain, and so I drink some alcohol, or I go out with friends and I can't relax because I'm doing this, so I'm using an external substance or external object to change my internal state. And it's really not about that external thing. It's about changing the internal state. And so we're going to talk about ways of, okay, when you're feeling in that stuckness, how do you change that state? And it could be depression, could be sadness, it could be anxiety, it could be feeling stressed and not able to relax. It could be stuck on ruminating something. It could be stuck in fear. Another example might be cell phones. Every time I feel uncomfortable, I go to my cell phone, or I'm finding I'm wanting to do this big accomplishment thing, but I come home and I just find myself sitting watching TV instead. It's state changes through internal state changes through external means. And I think a lot of times we use these external means because we feel stuck and I can't control it. I know this thinking isn't good for me, but I can't stop this thinking that I know that isn't good for me in here. And so my tip here is to change your body, and I'll give you a number of ways to do that. A few examples. I'm going to start with your breath, actually. So changing your breath to change your state of mind. And if you remember back a few lessons or a few of the podcasts earlier, we talked about the emotional states and the range of physiological functions that are tied to your emotional state, and what your breath, what your heart rate was doing in those different times. And you can't necessarily make yourself stop being worried or not being angry or not be anxious, but you can change your breath to mimic a pattern that feels like calmness or steadiness. And so I would say to change your state of mind, change your breath pattern. And most of the time, it's going to be slow it down. Slow down your breathing. A really simple tool or method would be 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out, or 5 seconds in, 7 seconds out. You can even have a pause in between on there. And the breath is our access or our gateway to the subconscious, or the things that we don't have control over. So if you look in your nervous system, like I can move my muscles, right? There's a lot of things in my body that I have conscious control over. I can think about it and then do it. But something like stop worrying about this project that's due tomorrow, or this thing that I have to do, or whatever it is. That's not so easy. You can't, it's harder to let go of that, or don't worry about what other people think about you, or whatever it is for you in here. Those things are more kind of in the part of our nervous system that we don't have conscious control over. But breath is so powerful because it lives in both domains. Like before we started talking about breathing here, nobody was thinking about breathing, and we were all breathing. Like our body was breathing for us. But we can also think about breathing and choose to take control over it. The two different parts of the nervous system are the autonomic and the somatic. You can think like the automatic parts of your nervous system, or the parts of my nervous system I have control over. And so I don't have control over my physiology, my heart rate, my tension in my body, different things, but I do have control over my breath. And so most of the breath patterns are for the states of mind that people will didn't generally want to get out of, are going to be fast, choppy breath patterns. And by slowing your breath pattern down, and while we're talking, you could even do it. You can just count to 5 as you breathe in, count to 5 to 7 as you breathe out. Just slow down your breath. You might notice your body starts to shift. Your brain starts to shift, your thoughts start to shift. And so we can't make ourselves be calm, but we can breathe as if we were in a state of calmness or peaceness or relaxation. And then our brain will follow our body in that situation. It's also something to kind of interrupt a pattern, to switch into a different action. Instead of this thing happens and my brain runs like several steps down before I even have it, just interrupting the pattern and doing something different and focusing on something different will create a state change in there as well. Another tip for if you find yourself in a state of mind that you don't want to be. We'll just say that that's what it is. Change your viewpoint, change your vantage. I might say take a step back, like literally or metaphorically in this. I might say actually, and we're in the topic of body, like literally, like take a step back, like leave the room, leave the house, move, change your environment. We talked, I think, a little bit about brain states of, there's a fish that they studied that it's got like eyes on the side of its head, and its brain, and I think it's called the cuttlefish. Its brain when its eyes are out here versus when it focuses its eyes out here. And you can think of it like as a hunter in the woods, right? It's somebody that's just taking it all in, being in the forest, hearing the river, hearing the birds, seeing the sun, like absorbing it all, taking it all in is in a relaxed state of mind, versus when its eyeballs go forward, it zooms in on its target or whatever it's moving at, and it's more in a hunter chasing mode. And that is more of our high intensity, stressed, focused state. It's a beautiful state, but it's also a state that can get in trouble because we miss everything. When we're zoomed in on the deer or the elk that we're chasing down and we lose it or it gets away, we're missing all of the others that are around us. And so we can get stuck or locked on the thing that we missed, and that thing that we think we're going after when we miss all of these things around us. And so it's change your perspective of, oh, it got away, or this thing got away. It's like, oh, well, hold on. There's a million others around here for me. And I'm so hyper focused on this one thing that I missed the big picture. And so literally, metaphorically, take a step back, changes your brain state, changes your visual input, changes your mental state that you are in. The next one, get out of your head and into your body. A lot of the thoughts are running, so that might be go move, go for a walk, do something physically. Noticing your breath could be getting into your body. This could be going and using a heavy bag for a while. Whatever it is that taps you into your physical body is powerful and important. When you find yourself in a mental state that you don't like, that you want to switch out of, mantras or mental cues to change your thinking is really powerful as well. I think I have up here in an airborne school, you can imagine it's actually really dangerous when you get into that panic mode, because if you jump out of an airplane and you have a small critical window to do something and your brain is screaming at you, I'm going to die over and over again, like you have to zoom that back in and be able to focus pretty quick. So being able to do a fast mental state change is important. And going through airborne school, everything is little songs and ditties, and it's kind of weird. Like at first you got there and I'm like, what the heck? Like, why is everybody singing these little ditty songs? And you can think about almost like sailors like singing as they work and things like that. And it's powerful because they stick in your mind. So, a mantra, something that you might create for yourself of when you get stuck into a mental pattern, being able to pull that and kind of call that back up and just say it, stick with it, do it. For me, in one of my schools that I went through, like I had I think the panic button, right? Like have a plan for when you get into that state, be like, okay, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to say this one thing and I'm going to remember this one thing in here. And so you can create that one thing, or you might have a rock in your pocket that tells you what to do, that reminds you of something. That might be one of the other things in here. But have some sort of way to interrupt the pattern in any way that works for you. And almost the more silly and the more stupid, the better, because then you'll pull this thing out, you'll read this silly, stupid thing, you'll laugh about how dumb it is that you're repeating this yourself, and then you're in an instant state change and you're in a completely different place.